that mega giant buck that I've been after for like the last 2 years. His home range, he lives about a mile that way to the south. At least that's what I think. He could be spending more time out here in this vast treeless area. I've never really ran many cameras out here. This year I do have a camera about a quarter mile behind me where there is a couple patches and pockets of trees. But way out here, right beyond these couple little trees and dead trees, it turns into solid cattails. And it does get pretty wet in there, but it has been pretty dry. There's always dry patches in there though. So I would imagine there could be deer bedding in there. I did jump a deer. It was a doe, I believe, in all these tall weeds behind me. That stuff, just a bunch of ragweed and horse nettle. So those deer could have been bedded in here and already worked through here, but we'll see what comes out. I kind of like this setup right here. With all this grass, I'm pretty well hidden. I wouldn't want to be any more exposed than what I am. It's a pretty comfortable log right here, so I could see myself maybe coming back here during the rut, and sitting here again. So get comfortable here, and we'll see what comes out for the night. Got about an hour and a half left. Like I said, there's a pretty good chance I'll see nothing because I already accessed through quite a bit of land to get here, and this is like right on the edge of where some deer could come out. I was gonna set up in that willow tree there, but I could totally see a deer coming out. I haven't seen any rubs or scrapes. The farthest I walked was just 10 yards that way to snap off some weeds. But I could totally see a deer coming out and staging up right around some of these trees and maybe making a few scrapes before heading out further. So we'll see if anything comes out here. I do very little, almost no ground hunting. I hate hunting from the ground. The only time I'll hunt from the ground is scenarios like this, out in a marsh where there's no trees. But this might be the spot to be, because last year I had a camera on a field edge about a half mile behind me. I did get one picture of that mega giant. That was like, I believe, October 24th at 9 p.m. So he was coming out of this area. And it's almost mid-October now, so he could be in here. Like I said, I've gotten his pictures a mile and a half that way to the west and a mile to the south of here. So I think this is the farthest he's coming into the marsh, because the public land goes that way almost another mile and a half. So anyways, we'll see if anything comes out.
Well, that was a pretty cool encounter. Even though I wish I would have got a little better footage. That buck came out like right at last light. And when he first started coming right at me, I almost thought it was a shooter. I mean, he was pretty wide, but then when he turned a little bit, I got to look at his rack. I don't know if how much footage I actually caught there, but it looked like he had pretty short tines, kind of a spindly rack. And then that doe was like 10 to 15 yards from me for like 10 minutes before she finally stomped and blew. She saw that buck coming in, and then she stomped to kind of alert him. Um, but yeah, she clearly smelt me. But it took her a while to actually leave. She was That's an area that the deer probably haven't smelt any human scent, honestly, since probably last year during gun season or sometime in the winter. Someone was walking through there. I mean, they felt obviously super safe. And if I go back to that spot, I'm gonna have to try and get up in that tree because I had to literally stand up a little bit to even see these deer because still just sitting was just too low to see them moving around. Um, so I'm gonna have to try and get in that one tree if I do go back to that spot again. Um,
I didn't know how many deer would actually be living out here because, like I said, there's like literally nothing for them to eat on. But there is good crop fields, like quarter mile, half mile that way. And there definitely is deer out here because I crossed multiple somewhat used deer trails through this canary grass, weaving its way back here. So yeah, there's a chance I'll see something, but man, the chance of actually running into this buck on this absolutely retarded setup standing here in the cattails, I mean, it's the areas like this that are gonna hold a 7.5-year-old buck because no one's out here hunting. There is pheasant hunters that get through here, but not, I don't think they come all the way into these cattails. They are more out in the grass, and that starts next weekend. But that was during pheasant season when that buck was in here last year. Was heading out. I had a picture of him, like I said. So, and the good thing is these deer will come out, and I'm kind of like tucked in almost behind him. By the time I see them, I'm gonna be like, they're gonna be heading out, and I'm kind of like back to their left. So I should be kind of out of view unless they turn and come right at me. So we'll see. So when I stand up like this, I can kind of observe this whole area pretty good. I'm just gonna be ready at all times because there's honestly a deer trail like 5 yards in front of me, which is not ideal. But I know from the maps and from scouting, the better trails are like 30 yards that way. Like, you see where them taller cattails are? Right before that, it turns in and goes that way. actually paid off. There definitely is bucks out here. I mean, I'm like probably 500 yards from a tree that could be hunted. Maybe more. And every buck out here, I've seen this in the past too. These bucks that live out in Cattails have really white tines. Just like that one did. People say that, like, if a buck is like really dark rack, that's from rubbing on certain trees. That's totally false. Think of sheds. When you find a shed that's been sitting out in the open, it's bleach white. These bucks get really white racks because they live out here in the open in cattails, just like Kansas bucks or any open ground where there's not much shade. Those northern, like Canada, dark chocolate bucks, they're just in the pines and in the spruce, and they're just hidden. They're not too much direct sunlight. Anyways, the buck I'm in here after is definitely bigger than that one. That one was out of range. I couldn't have shot him anyways. All I could see was his head. He was probably about 50 yards. But the buck I'm after, he's got really white tines as well, so he's got to be living out here in these cattails at times, if not a lot more than what I thought. That buck, I have no idea which buck is. That thing's at least 3 years old, maybe 4. But like I said, my cameras, I'm missing so much. This place is huge. So, yeah, that was pretty interesting. I stood up on the stool, and it looked like he was heading away from me, so I gotta walk out this way, and he was going that way. So, I shouldn't really disturb him tonight, but at some point, he's gonna come down in here right where I was and smell. He came out right where I was expecting to see something, but with the wind, I couldn't hear anything coming, and it sounded like about an hour before he popped out. I thought I heard something like directly in behind me, but I wasn't sure. Anyways, that was pretty cool. The two nicest bucks I've seen this year have been on the ground like this. It's crazy.